Hey, welcome to Simon Says On-Premise. I'm going to do a walkthrough of how to set up and get started quickly. So there's two parts to the Simon Says On-Premise software. One is the AI, which runs in the background. You can run it on a Linux machine. If you're running it on a Mac or PC, you need a virtualization software like VMware Workstation for the PC or VMware Fusion for the Mac. Once you open up VMware Workstation or Fusion, you load up the AI in here. So you would go import, find the AI, which you should have downloaded from us on your computer, and then load it in there. And in the settings for the network, I recommend auto detect is easy to get started. You need the most common way to activate a license is you need an internet connection, and you enter in your license number and you activate the Simon Says AI. But if you can, for some reason, allow internet access just to activate your license, then there is a more lengthy approach to be able to activate your AI, but without the internet. And you can talk to us about that. Simon Says On-Premise doesn't need the internet other than just to activate the license. All the transcription happens locally on your computer. Nothing leaves your computer. Nothing goes to the cloud. You can even run Simon Says On-Premise on air-gapped computers. You can even, one thing that which helps speed up how the AI and the Simon Says interface talk to each other is to also put the network onto private to my Mac. So once you've activated your license that we provided you, then you can put it to private to my Mac. The second part of the software is the Simon Says interface. So once the AI is up and running, you will see a screen like this. It's basically a screen of the AI running in the background. The kind of main thing to keep in mind or to note here is the IP address. So 192.168.86.237, that number there, it's particular to my AI. You will have an IP address that's particular to yours. So noting that number, the second part of the software is the Simon Says interface software. And that IP address goes into the Simon Says interface software. So the interface software speaks to the AI, which is running in the background of your computer. Now, when you load up Simon Says the interface software for the first time, you'll see a screen like this, except obviously you'll have no projects, no transcription. You go to the menu, you go preferences, and configure service IP. It's here that you enter in your IP address. I'll go cancel because mine is already entered, but you should be clicking OK. And then you go here and you go, there'll be a button. In my case, my license is already activated, but yours wouldn't be. So you have to say activate license. And when you click it, you will see a screen pop up. You enter in, you copy and paste in your license number. And what it's doing is now it has the IP address. So it pings the AI, and then it says to the server, is this license number active and authorized? And the server says yes, and then it provisions the AI with the quantity of hours that you purchased initially. So if you purchased 100 hours, the AI is now provisioned for 100 transcription hours. When you run out of hours, you can see the number of hours, by the way, here at the bottom of the Simon Says interface software. When you run out of hours, contact us, and we'll provide you with a new license with a new allocation of hours. And then to get started from here is fairly simple. Keep in mind the AI, the virtual machine may take 10-15 minutes to get an IP address. The initial setup needs a bit of patience. We really recommend installing the AI on like a desktop computer or a computer which will not move. The challenge when you say install it on a laptop and you're constantly taking your laptop to work and then back to home or to a coffee shop is the IP address constantly changes and the AI needs to constantly find a new IP address. And so it can be, arduous and a little bit frustrating. So we really recommend, having a desktop computer that, is constantly fixed in one position with one IP address. It'll make it so much more, pleasurable to use, and you don't have to worry about setup other than that very, very first time. So once you have set up, you've now activated your license, loaded up your interface software, you are good to go. So this first pane, you could click on the plus button to bring in a new project. Let's bring in Oprah at the Golden Globes. You can see here it's saying the duration of that file is 9 minutes 40 seconds. You can bring in a bunch of files, a number of files. The quickest, let's talk about transcription time for a second. So transcription time very much is dependent on your computer. The faster the computer, the faster it'll transcribe. We really recommend, any modern computer will suffice by and large. A CPU with at least 4 cores, at least 18 gigs, preferably 16 gigs of RAM, and 20 gigs of hard drive space. More cores means more concurrent transcription, and more RAM and CPU speed goes to improving the turnaround time for transcription. Traditionally, it takes like minutes though. It typically takes minutes. So the fastest, and now kind of tip here, if you import an MP4 file, it will be faster because Simon Says doesn't need to transcode an MP4 file before sending it to the AI. The downside of an MP4 is if you're using a transcription in a video editing context and you want Simon Says to automatically read the time code, the frame rate of your file, then it needs an H.264 MOV file. So if you want Simon Says to automatically read the frame rate and the start time code of your file, import in an H.264 MOV file. So in this case, we have an MP4 file. We select our language. We have a bunch here. It depends on obviously what you selected when you first purchased Simon Says on premise, and then you go transcribe. So it's saying the file rounds up to 10 minutes. This is how much time remaining I have. Let's do this. As I mentioned, it's now that file has been sent to the AI and it is transcribing in the background in that virtual machine. You could also run it on Linux, and then you would not need a virtualization software. Let's go to another project in the meantime. So just because it's already transcribed, there's a number of ways this editor is really, really robust. It's like a Google Doc. You can make any edits, any changes as you like. Just to show some examples here, so we can add speaker names. You can select speakers you've already entered. You can make some bookmarks if you want to refer to it later. Here's a bookmark filter, which just shows the bookmarked rows. You can add notes. You can navigate along the video player's timeline. Here's a note filter. You can set the start time code. So if the time code wasn't read automatically because, for example, you didn't bring in an H.264 MOV, but it's really important to you, you can just set the frame rate and the start time code through this modal here. You can search within the document. And here is a list of shortcuts. So there's a bunch of shortcuts you can use to be able to edit faster, be able to jump forward 5 seconds or back 5 seconds, go to the next row or go to a previous row. Great. And then once you have your transcript, and you can use this, by the way, to have a cleaner interface. This button closes the middle panel. Once you're ready, then you can click export, and you can export to one of the formats that you need, that you may have selected when you originally purchased Simon Says on premise. We have a kind of common text document. which opens up obviously into Microsoft Word. And then we have a bunch which are kind of fundamental to video editing, Final Cut Pro, Avid Media Composer, Adobe Premiere. We have subtitles and captions in SRT format. You can even export to the visual subtitle editor, which looks very much like this. So yeah, the original, the file that we originally brought in here, it is completed is what it's saying. By the way, we can edit title names here. You can edit title names. And so what I was saying about the visual subtitle editor, it very much looks like this transcript editor, except it is formatted like subtitles. So for example, 32 characters per line, 2 lines. So it lets you preview how subtitles will look on screen. Yeah, so that's and then you can see that the credits were deducted here. So it's now 4 hours, 38 minutes. Yeah, so that's Simon Says on-premise in a nutshell. There is a deactivated license. What that's really saying is if you want to return this credit back to the server, if you wanted to install the AI on some other machine, we really don't recommend moving machines or moving the AI. The AI is very sensitive in that way. It needs to be activated. There's only a certain number of activations. But if you really, really, really need to, you can try to deactivate and then reactivate, and hopefully your credit will remain and the process will be seamless. And yeah, that's it. If you have any other questions, just ping us. We're always happy to help.